Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. It's your boy D Black coming back with you with another Raw review. All right, Raw tonight. We have one more week. Next Saturday starts WrestleMania, and this Raw was horrible. It led up to nothing going in to WrestleMania, and they still have tickets they haven't sold. Okay, well, let's get into it. Um, we start off with a film package with Roman Reigns, talking about CM Punk and calling CM Punk a liar, and that he knows that there's no trust in him and stuff like that. That he doesn't trust him, that he hates him, and all this other stuff and everything. Then he said something about bringing up Pat McAfee as far as being a punter and everything, in the NFL and everything, talking, crap about CM Punk, but basically putting CM Punk on blast, telling the truth about, CM Punk. And then, that, goes off. So later on in the segment, in the show, CM Punk and Roman Reigns, they kind of have their little face off. But anyway, we have Adam Pearce coming out with Triple H, and it's for Brock. They're coming out saying that, this time they're going to do something different as far as Brock Lesnar and Over FEMI, as far as signing their contracts, and that they're going to have them signed separately. And then Paul Heyman comes out and he said that it was a good thing that, they had them, signing the contract separately, you know, um, because it should be saying, something about the Nigerian death warrant, as far as putting, over Femi, on the death warrant and everything, and that Brock Lesnar, you know, um, will check in on that, saying there will be a winner. There's only going to be there's a winner and there's going to be a loser. And he said that the winner is going to be, you know, um, Brock Lesnar, and the loser is going to be Obafemi. I mean, he didn't say it in that order. Actually, he did say that the loser would be, Obafemi, and that the winner would be, Brock Lesnar and stuff. And so that ended that segment. And then we get, backstage with Austin Theory, Logan Paul, and I Show Speed. I Show Speed looking a little bit down because of the match that they have, this week against the Usos and LA Knight, and then Logan Paul and Austin Theory trying to pick I Show Speed up and everything, tell them that look, we have your back and everything and stuff like that, and I Show Speed basically tell him that he's not a wrestler and everything, and so they show this portion of where they're training, I Show Speed and everything, he's getting all pumped up and everything. Now he says that he's ready to go. He's gonna get hurt just like he did last year when Brock Lesnar speared the tar out of him, almost broke him in two and stuff. But anyway, after that, we have Charlotte Flair and Lyra Valkyria. The match was okay. It was a little bit back and forth and everything. Basically, you're going to be seeing these two, over the weekend. It's fighting for, the women's tag team title and stuff and everything. But anyway, the match goes on and stuff, and eventually, in the heat of the match, it looks like Charlotte Flair was gonna roll Lyra Valkyria up, and then Bailey reaches in and grabs Charlotte's foot and trips her over, and then Lyra Valkyria, she ends up getting the roll up pin on Charlotte Flair. And then we get a little bit about Solo Sikoa, telling the Usos, about he's disappointed in them, and that they're, a disgrace to the family, especially, teaming up with LA Knight and everything and stuff like that, and then LA Knight is like, look, hey, if you got anything to say, we can all say it in the ring. There's three of them. They'll take on any three of the MFTs and stuff like that. So they have him in the match later on, in the evening, as LA Knight said that he'll go talk to Adam Pearce about it. And then we get Stephanie Valkyria coming down to the ring, and stuff. She's about to do her promo on Liv Morgan, and then Liv Morgan comes out and she attacks Stephanie Valkyria because last week Stephanie Valkyria attacked Liv Morgan, and Roxanne Perez, kind of felt a little bit of that heat too. And Liv ended up with a big old knot upside of her forehead and stuff. So they're brawling, actually before they even start brawling. Actually after they start brawling, Lyra Valkyria gets on, the mic and she says something about Stephanie Valkyria's mom, being a bee and stuff like that. And it was horrible. I can't even repeat it and stuff. But then again, they start brawling again. I mean, they were brawling and stuff. And I guess the face that was on Liv Morgan's, her face, her eyes looked like they were about to pop out of her head and stuff and everything. But yeah, so I mean, I'll be making a video tomorrow about my predictions as far as WrestleMania is concerned. But anyway, we get Io Sky. She's back there talking to Kat Kelly, and Kat Kelly's asking her about when Rhea came out or why she came out to help Rhea and everything, and she's basically saying that Rhea, is her friend and stuff like that, and that she has Rhea's back, anytime, any day and stuff. And then Oscar comes out, and then she tells Io, she said to her, she said last year, you went to WrestleMania as a champion. And this year, she says that she's going to WrestleMania as Rhea Ripley's sidekick. And then, tells us that, because of she disappointed her and the family because Oscar still says that Io is part of the family and stuff. But anyway, she said that Kairi Sane is going to teach her a lesson, teach Io Sky a lesson. And then they put a match together for, tonight. And then we get the match with the Usos and LA Knight against the MFTs. Before the match, Solo Sikoa was actually looking for Tama Tonga, and he was nowhere to be found and stuff. But then as the match goes on, I guess it was kind of okay. But then later on, Tama Tonga shows up. So Sikoa started asking him where he's been. And Tonga came up, kind of cornered him off and everything. But inside the ring, LA Knight, BFT's Tonga Loa and everything for the pin, and the Usos and LA Knight win that match. So we're going to find out what happens tomorrow because, well, over the weekend, because at WrestleMania, the MFTs, they go up against the White Six, and we're going to see if Tama Tonga's on board with that situation still. And then we get the promo with Gunther. And then Seth comes out. And Seth comes out and he attacks Gunther and stuff. So they're brawling a little bit and stuff. And then Seth, gets in and tells Gunther, come back because Gunther's starting to walk off, So Seth is telling him to come back to the ring and tell him why, he doesn't like him. I mean, this is crazy because there's no storyline behind this match with Seth Rollins and Gunther. I mean, it just came out of nowhere and stuff. So I just think it's just a match that was thrown together to put Gunther and Seth Rollins in WrestleMania. It's crazy because Gunther, said that he hates Seth Rollins, and stuff because we've been going around saying that he's the best, and then Gunther saying that he's the best and stuff like that, So I guess their feud is because of the fact that one says they're best and the other one says they're better than the best, and so now that's what the reason that's happening. And then after all that is said and done and everything, and Gunther says that Seth Rollins is pissing him off and everything and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden they start brawling again. And they just start brawling again. And then we get a segment with Adam Pearce and Dominic. Mysterio Dominic's complaining about, wrestling Finn Balor, because Finn Balor is not coming out as Finn Balor. He's coming out as the demon, Finn Balor and stuff like that. And Dom is saying that it's not fair that he has to wrestle against the demon and not actually Finn Balor. And then Adam tells, Dom that, he's getting what he deserves. And that ends that. And then we get the match with Io Sky and Kairi Sane. I mean, the match, was okay. At some point, in the match, Oscar interferes, in the match, and Rhea comes out, to stop Oscar. And then Jade comes out and she attacks Rhea. And then Io dives in between the ropes and she takes Jade Cargill out, and then Kyrie pulls Io back into the ring and stuff. And then Io hits Kyrie and pulls her in the ring, and then and then she tries something, and then Kyrie's headbutts her, and then Io kind of falls, but she doesn't completely fall and everything. And then Kyrie has the referee's attention and stuff, and Asuka gets back up on the ring and stuff. She takes Io Sky, she busts her head up against the ring post and stuff, and then Io gets into the ring. Io gets into the ring and stuff, and she rolls Io up, and she wins. So Kairi wins that match with help from Oscar. And then we got Oba Femi, the signing. You got Triple H and Adam Pearce out there, and then Oba comes out. He signs the contract and stuff. And then Paul Heyman comes out. And Paul Heyman kind of gives Oba Femi some props. About coming up into the from NXT up into the main roster, and doing what he's doing and accomplishing the things that he's doing and stuff like that. So, but then he goes on to say that, Brock Lesnar will destroy him and stuff. And then after he's destroyed Oba Femi, then Paul Heyman tells Oba that, after he's been conquered, defeated, down and out, he can come and contact, him because his door is always open, and he will get, Oba Femi back onto his feet after, Brock Lesnar, finishes him off. Then Oba says to Paul, for him to close that door because, he ain't worried about closing that door. And then says 25 years of history says that Brock Lesnar cannot be, conquered. And then he says, he's been there for 4 weeks, and he says that he is the one that's going to conquer, Brock Lesnar. And then Oba says, you can feel the difference because he can feel the difference. And he says that the people can feel the difference. And then he tells Paul that he can feel the difference too, and then so he says that this is not a business as usual. This is not business as usual between, him and Brock Lesnar. Then he says it's time, to conquer, Brock Lesnar once and for all. So he said he's going to beat Brock Lesnar once and for all. I mean, they've definitely been going through it for the last couple of weeks and everything. I mean, with their heavy brawling. And this is probably going to be one of the best matches of that night, And then the crowd, starts going off and everything, and they start chanting Oba's name and stuff. And then Oba says, I'm a fool, that he's the ruler, he's the bringer of war, the mountain that you cannot climb, boy. And then he says, I'm the one. And then he said that he's going to slay the beast. And everyone knows it, including Paul Heyman. He said, even at WrestleMania, you're both are going to know it. Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar will find out. So it's going to be a good one. I mean, that promo was pretty good, and Oba Femi, said it to the point. I mean, he did it. I had to give it up to Oba. he is really, really blossoming, as far as being on the main roster. I mean, Trick Williams, I'm glad to see what he's doing and stuff. I don't like the fact of how they've done Camilo Hayes, but we'll see. So Ober says that he's going to be the one to take down Brock Lesnar, the Beast, Brock Lesnar. All right, and then we get the match with Javon Evans and Dragon Lee against Rusev and JD McDonough. I mean, the match was it was all right. It was okay and stuff. Dragon Lee ends up with the style clash on JD McDonough and everything and gets the pin. And then Rusev ends up destroying all of them in the match. I mean, he took all of them down and stuff. But again, these guys will be, wrestling for the IC championship in a ladder match. So WrestleMania is going to be it's going to be something. It's going to be different. And then we get a little backstage thing with Danhausen. He interrupts Adam Pearce while he's on the phone, assuming that he's talking to John Cena and stuff like that. And then Danhausen says that he wants to speak to John Cena, and Adam Pearce says that they're busy and then he can't talk, and then Danhausen tells Adam Pearce, "Hey, look, you can't see me." And then Adam Pearce go back to the phone, turns around, and Danhausen is gone. And then we get the segment with Roman Reigns, and CM Punk. And then Roman Reigns comes out and he mentions the stuff that CM Punk, said and everything, and said, Roman Reigns said that he agrees with CM Punk, on what he was saying, except for everything that at the end and stuff. But they go on at each other and stuff like that. CM Punk is saying that everything that Roman Reigns has was handed to him and stuff. And then CM Punk said that everything that he had to do, he had to work hard and he had to, fight hard and everything, that the industry wasn't good to him and stuff like that. And that he didn't like Roman Reigns and everything because Roman Reigns held the title for as long as he did back in COVID time and stuff like that. And how many times Roman Reigns has been, main eventing WrestleMania and stuff, and then he says that everything that he did and stuff, he did on his own. He had to, he just, worked hard and stuff like that. And then he did, tell Roman that he apologized for saying the things that he said about, Roman's father and stuff like that. But he also said that, when WrestleMania is over, it's all said and done, the announcer going to say, and still, World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk. And then Roman Reigns said to him that you got it wrong. Because at the end of WrestleMania, they're going to see, the announcer's going to be saying, and new World Heavyweight Champion is Roman Reigns. And then the segment ends. No beef, no brawling. It just ends. So I don't know what's going to happen with this this WrestleMania. I mean, it's not going to be. I mean, it might be good. It just going to depends on how these matches turn out and stuff like that. Because I think WrestleMania, like the old time, every match was almost like could be a main event match. I mean, Brock Lesnar and FEMI, that could be a main event match. At WrestleMania, people would pay to see that. you know. But then you got these other matches that have no light on nothing and stuff. But anyway, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, leave a comment, let me know how you're feeling, if you agree or disagree. But please subscribe. I need subscribers. All right. Thank you for watching. God bless. Deuces. And I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.